Warm greetings. This is Annunthra Rangan, Senior Research Officer at the Chennai Center for China Studies. Welcome to C3S interview on Japan's economic stakes in the Taiwan Strait. Escalating tensions in the Taiwan Strait are no longer just a geopolitical concern. They are becoming a major business risk for Japan's corporate giants. A recent survey by Kyodo News reveals that over half of Japan's leading companies are actively preparing for a potential Taiwan contingency, with measures such as drafting evacuation plans and stockpiling essential supplies. With Japan ranking as Taiwan's third largest trading partner and Taiwan serving as a critical hub for Japan's supply chains and investments, any disruption could have far reaching economic consequences. In 2023 alone, bilateral trade between the two nations reached around $75.7 billion, despite a decline due to regional uncertainties. To understand how these developments are shaping corporate strategies and economic policies, we have Dr. Anudeep, who is an assistant professor at the Center of Excellence for Geopolitics and International Studies, CEGIS at REVA University. He completed his PhD in political science from the University of Hyderabad with a dissertation titled Indo-Japan Relations in the Post-Cold War Period, a study through neoclassical realism. His research focuses on the interplay between domestic and systemic variables in shaping foreign policy. His articles have been published in reputed outlets like the Diplomat, Hindu Businessline, Telangana Today, Indian Express, and ORCA-India. He will provide insights into how Japanese businesses are navigating these risks and what it means for the broader regional economy. Thank you for agreeing to be a part of the interview, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Annunthra. Thank you so much for having me to discuss on this topical issue, considering what's happening in the South China Sea as well as in the Taiwan Strait. This is an important topic about how Japanese businesses are going to deal with the emerging uncertainties in the region. So thank you once again for having me.
Thank you, sir. With this, I would like to pose my first question to you. How do Japan's economic ties with Taiwan influence its perception of the China-Taiwan conflict as a critical business risk? And should Japanese companies consider diversifying their supply chains away from Taiwan? And what are the basic potential ripple effects of a Taiwan contingency on global trade and supply chains, particularly for Japan?
Okay, so in the introduction itself, we have mentioned about the trade statistics that Japan and Taiwan have between them. So just to highlight them once again, Japan's substantial economic engagement with Taiwan, which encompasses both trade and investment, makes the China-Taiwan conflict a significant business risk for Japanese interests. As you have mentioned, bilateral trade between Japan and Taiwan, which totaled around $75 billion in 2023, and of which Japan's exports to Taiwan amounted to almost $44 billion, and Taiwan's exports to Japan amounted to around probably $31 billion. So this deep economic interdependence means that any instability in the Taiwan Strait could disrupt supply chains, particularly in critical sectors like semiconductors, where Taiwan is a key partner. In this context, Japan perceives the China-Taiwan conflict as a direct threat to its economic stability and business operations. Moreover, amid concerns that concentration of advanced semiconductor manufacturing in Taiwan creates a global vulnerability, even Taiwan chip maker TSMC has started mass production in its first factory in Japan as the government steps up efforts to strengthen supply chains for critical and essential goods. In fact, the factory in Kumamoto Prefecture produces logic chips with 12 to 28 nanometer technologies for use in cars and image sensors as well. And moreover, in 2004, they even said that they would start a second chip factory in Japan and increase investments to more than $20 billion US. The construction is expected to start by the end of 2027, but yeah, it's been more or less the same. But given the potential risks associated with geopolitical tensions in the Taiwan Strait, it would be prudent for Japanese companies to explore and diversify their supply chains. While Taiwan remains a crucial partner, especially in the high-tech industries, over-reliance in any single region can expose business to significant disruptions. So a diversification could involve seeking alternative suppliers in other countries or investing in more in domestic production capabilities. to mitigate potential risks arising from the regional uncertainties.
Thank you, sir. Following this up, I have one more question. Why is Taiwan's stability considered to, considered very critical to Japan's national security and as well as its economic interests? So, do you see any potential long-term economic consequences for Japanese companies if tensions in Taiwan Strait escalate into a military conflict as such?
Right. Taiwan's stability is very much important for Japan due to both geographic proximity as well as economic ties. Geographically, Taiwan's location is strategic for maritime routes, essentially to Japan's energy imports and trade. For example, Japan's westernmost island is less than 100 miles from Taiwan's east coast, and Japan has long enjoyed close but unofficial relations with Taipei, which continue to deepen even today. Economically, Taiwan is a key supplier of semiconductors, which are vital for Japan's technology and automotive industries as well. Moreover, a crisis in the Taiwan Strait could have profound implications for global trade and supply chains as well. Taiwan Strait is a vital maritime route with over one-fifth of global trade passing through it. For Japan, approximately 32% of its imports and 25% of its exports transit through the strait, according to the stats of 2022, which amounting to nearly $400 billion in trade. As a percentage of total trade, around 28 to 29% of Japan's trade flows through the Taiwan Strait again. So disruptions could lead to delays, increased shipping costs, and shortages of critical components as well. Additionally, I would like to point that 95% of Japan's crude oil imports, which comes through the Middle East and transported through the South China Sea, passes basically through the Taiwan Strait, which serves as a vital artery of Japan's advanced economy. So an escalation into military conflict in the Taiwan Strait could have severe long-term economic consequences for Japanese companies as well as other nations which are relying on these choke points. So potential impact it could include destruction of infrastructure, loss of investments, and prolonged disruptions in supply chains. So, and when we are talking about this, we should also keep in mind that it will also affect Japan and China economic relations. The total trade between Japan and China is around $335 billion. So China is also is Japan's largest trading partner, and Japan is China's second largest trading partner following the US. So basically, it won't just affect Japan's relations or economic relations with Taiwan, but it also affects Japanese relation with China as well. So so overall, Japan has more to lose than any other country in an event of military conflict in the region.
Okay, if that's the case, then how can Japan balance economic interdependence with Taiwan and the potential risks, posed by China's military assertiveness?
Right. So I think it's the best way is to adopt a multifaceted strategy. This includes diversifying supply chains to reduce, as I said, to reduce over-reliance on any single region, enhancing domestic production capabilities, and strengthening alliances, especially alliances with other nations, to ensure collective security in the region. The word collective security is overwhelming sometimes, but that is what Japan has to look at. And most importantly, engaging in diplomatic efforts to promote regional stability and open communication channels with China. I think, moreover, we have to take into consideration different levels of analysis, which includes systemic, regional, and domestic. So at the systemic level, Japan should keep on highlighting the importance of stability across the strait, especially in their dealings with the US. And at the regional level, Japan should consider taking leadership role in both economic and security spheres. On the economic front, Japan should continue its commitment in supporting Taiwan's bid to the comprehensive and progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement (CPTPP). Moreover, Tokyo is increasingly seen to pave the way forward for shared economic interests across countries in the region. to lead and to cooperate as well. At the security front, Japan should invest in improving its defense mechanisms and take lead in maintaining free and open Indo-Pacific region, and at the same time collaborating closely with countries within the region. And the third level of analysis here, where Japan should concentrate more is at the domestic level, because at the domestic level, the perception of Japanese citizen matters a lot in times of contingency as well, because Japan uh, is a country where public opinion matters a lot. If you look at most of the surveys that come out, so China's ban of, for example, China's ban of Taiwanese pineapples in March 2021 was a case in point. It led to a campaign by Japanese citizens to buy pineapples from Taiwan. So this grassroots campaign succeeded in elevating Japanese public awareness of intense coercive pressure Taiwan continues to face from China. So the purchasing of these, Taiwanese goods banned by China became a political act. So Japan should concentrate at these three levels. It shouldn't look at the Taiwanese contingency from a single point of view, but it needs to have a multifaceted strategy.
All right, thank you. So, how does the decline basically in this bilateral trade between Japan and Taiwan reflect the impact of regional uncertainties? I'm aware that you've touched upon a little bit, but I'd like a more detailed answer to this, if that's okay.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, so bilateral trade between Japan and China totaled around $75 billion, right? But in 2023, but that saw a 14% decrease from 2022. Of which Japan exports to Taiwan amounted to $44 billion, but again that is 18% decrease. And Taiwan's exports to Japan also amounted to $31 billion, as I was mentioning earlier, but that saw 6.4% decrease. And between November 2023 and November 2024, the exports of Japan have increased by 19%, yes, but the imports decreased by 15% again. So there's a trend, but a decline in bilateral trade between Japan and Taiwan could indicate the adverse effects of regional uncertainties. Factors such as geopolitical tensions, economic sanctions, or shifts in policies might contribute to reduced trade volume. Such a decline could signal that business apprehensions about the stability of the region and their efforts to mitigate risks by seeking alternative markets or suppliers as well. As you mentioned in the earlier about the Kyoto News, about Kyoto News survey of 114 countries, wherein almost half of the companies, so half of the companies said that they are ready for any Taiwan contingency. So they are dealing with in their own way.
All right, thank you. One last question to you, sir. What alternative strategies could Japan adopt to ensure energy security, given its high reliance on the Taiwan Strait for crude oil imports?
Right. So I think the suggestions are very simple. Some of the strategies that Japan could consider are diversification of its energy sources, investing more in renewable energy sources such as wind, solar, and even nuclear power. Japan started looking towards nuclear power once again, considering the threat to its energy, and also finding out alternative shipping routes, exploring and securing more alternative maritime routes, to circumvent the potential choke points like the Taiwan Strait. And recently there was news about, pipeline from Alaska as well. So such kind of alternative ideas should emerge, and also Japan should build on strategic reserves as well. Basically enhancing strategic petroleum reserves uh, to cushion out any temporary supply disruptions, as well as more international collaborations, because collaborating with other nations to develop shared energy resources and infrastructure, thereby reduces vulnerability to regional disruption. So by implementing these strategies, Japan can mitigate risks associated with any sort of Taiwanese contingency.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So, what I've understood from this interaction with you, that be in essence what you're trying to say is Taiwan stability is not, just a regional issue for Japan. It is also a matter of strategic and economic necessity as well. So surrounded by authoritarian regimes, Japan views Taiwan's future through the lens of its own security and prosperity, if I'm not wrong. So as China's ambitions also grow on one side, Japan has a vested interest in ensuring that the Taiwan Strait remains open and secure, reinforcing its commitment to regional stability and as well as economic resilience. Would you like to add upon something to this, sir?
That is true. It is not just economic relations that Japan is considering more about it, but it's a symbiotic relationship where, because geography matters a lot, and geography is also a curse in many ways. So Japan sitting next to Taiwan Strait, and in the choke points, not just affects its economy, but also its sovereignty. Japan is also thinking about how it would affect its own sovereignty as well. So security and economy in the context of Japan and Taiwan are very much interlinked. They both will go hand in hand, if not. But the problem is Japan is also very much dependent on China for its economy, for its trade, for its huge market for China is a huge market for Japan as well. So any sort of contingency will affect both its security as well as its economy. So it's very interesting to see how things are going to unfold in the coming future, especially in the next 5 years.
Thank you very much, sir, for spending your time with us for this interview.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you.